Hi guys, and welcome back to another part of our RPG series. And in the last video we done the drag and drop operation, and we make sure that this delete is working, so we can do and drop items with the inventory and all sorts of stuff. Right, so for this video what I want to do here is probably gonna be a short one. I just want to make sure that we go a better way to handle these options in these deletes in here, because right now it's kind of restrict for items. So what I want to do is every item maybe gonna have the delete or use or whatever, maybe split, or let's make this a little bit more dynamic. Right now it's just hard coded, and that is not great. Right, so what I'm gonna do here is I am gonna close everything. I'm gonna go here to where is main here, where is variables. If I go back to items, I'm gonna right click. I am gonna create here another blueprint. I'm gonna create a enumeration, just a enum, and I'm gonna call this context menu. Right, I'm gonna press save here. That's fine. I'm gonna open up this guy, and in here I'm gonna add two enumerators. One's gonna be use, the other one's gonna be delete, or just gonna call drop. Makes sense. Or drop. Yeah, drop. That's fine. Because technically drop and delete will be different things. But yeah. So that's fine. All this is done. I'm gonna open up the items back. I'm gonna add a new variable, and I am gonna call this context menu. Right. The context menu is gonna be a enum, so it's gonna be context menu. There you go. That's enum here, and I'm gonna save this. Make sure that you mark this as an array, because it's gonna be multiple. Right? That's fine. So I'm gonna close this. Remember, we are changing something on the inventory list, so just make sure you close. Don't need to save anything. I am just gonna go back here to my projects. Just gonna go back here to the RPG inventory. I'm gonna reopen my project. Right, so what we're gonna do here right now is we're gonna create a way that we can dynamically populate those context menus. Because if you have, for example, like we have a wood as a resource item in that, we cannot really use the item. We can only use to construct or do something else if you want to. But if you have a helmet, you can actually use the item and equip on the player. Right. So to do this, what we're going to do here right now is we're going to go to player level. Let's open up the RPG map here. And what I'm going to do now is I am going to go here where is main variables items. I'm going to open up the inventory RPG thing here. Right. And in here where I say context menu, I'm just going to add two. And actually I'm going to add only one, and it's going to be the drop one. Right. Cool. So with that done, what we actually going to do now is we're going to go back to main. We're going to go to UI, and we are going to go here where is the main inventory and the context menu. Remember, now we have access in here to the menu reference. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go back to the designer. I'm just gonna create a new folder here called context menu, just so we can organize this a little bit better. Just drag and drop this here. I'm gonna open up this. I'm gonna create another user blueprint interface. Make sure you select user. I'm gonna call WBP button. Right? Button context menu. Right. And what I want to do here is I want to make sure that those buttons are dynamically created. So this is just gonna be, let me copy this. I'm gonna go here, just gonna press paste. I'm gonna make sure this is called button. The text is gonna be button text. Is it not gonna be red? So I am just gonna make sure that we make sure it's just a generic color. I'm just gonna leave a generic color for now. Right. If you want to create different colors for different buttons, what you can actually do here is you can pass, let's make that. Let's make sure we can actually maybe pass a different color. Maybe I'm just gonna leave it like this for now, because what you can actually do here is you could in theory pass a color that you like for the button, but I think we can just leave this for the next lessons, or maybe when we start to do some refinement on this. Let's keep it simple for now, right? The only thing that we need here, right, is we're gonna create another variable, and we're gonna call this action. So it's gonna call action, and the type of this is gonna be a the enum context menu. There you go. And this is gonna be public. Make sure you do expose on spawn. And what I'm gonna do here is I want to use in here, let me double check how we're doing the logic in here for when dropping the item. We got the main inventory reference. So let's make sure we got the main inventory reference as well. So I'm gonna in here I'm gonna create another variable called main inventory ref, right? And it's gonna be WBP main inventory reference object. Make sure it's public, and also make sure you mark expose on spawn. If you got lost, don't worry. What we're trying to do here is we're just trying to build every single button dynamically, right? And because we're trying to do dynamically, we kind of need to have a widget that's going to be a callback to do actually the functions or whatever action you wish to do here, right? So what we're going to do there is we're going to go back in here. I'm just going to delete those methods that drop here. Don't worry about this. We're going to, is that a click? Yeah, let's click. So we're just going to make this dynamically. We're going to have to fix this, but don't worry for now. Right. So I'm going to go back to the designer. I am going to go ahead and delete those two, right? Where I say vertical box, make sure that's a variable, and let's call this button action box or a context menu, whatever you like. Compile and save. And now here on the graph, on the event construct, I'm gonna get my item reference. I'm gonna break the members, and I want to get the context menu. Remember, the context menu here is array, so you can do a for each loop. Make sure this goes here. And then what we can actually do, let me just put this on the side for now, is for each array loop, we want to create a context menu. So we're going to create a widget, right? The type of the widget is going to be WBP button context menu. And this array element is the action. The main inventory reference, we go here. So I'm just going to put this here so it knows what to do after. And now we need to add this inside the button, this button action box. So just gonna drag this here, and you just call add children or child here, right? And we're gonna make sure the return value goes inside here. Cool, right? So that is basically what you need. And now what we're gonna do here is where it's completed, just plug this delay there, right? We're not going to be using this logic for now, so go ahead and delete this here. You don't need that. You're going to press compile and save. And I think that's it. Let's see if that's going to actually work. So remember, this item should only have delete, which it does. It's not doing anything yet, but we're going to make this work right now. So it has a delete option in there. Let's see if the drugs still work. Yeah, cool. Right. So what we want to do now, that's a little bit more, not too much complicated, but we kind of have to do a dynamic way, right? We know that every button gets assigned with an action. So we have to find a way to trigger specific actions on the inventory component. So the way we can do this is just gonna go ahead in here to content, blueprints, components. Let's open up the main component. And what I'm gonna do here is I am gonna make sure, let me just organize this a little bit. Let's compile and save. Right, I'm gonna create a custom event. I'm gonna create a new custom event, and I'm gonna call this context menu server. And the reason why it's called on server is because I want to make sure that this runs on the server. So it runs on the server, must be reliable. And I'm going to create another one, which is going to be a custom event. Context menu multicast. So the reason why I'm creating a server and something here called multicast, make sure it's reliable, is because if you run this for some reason, or if you try to do a multiplayer game or some kind of it, which is, we're not trying to do a multiplayer game, we're just trying to do a single player. But if you want to use this in a multiplayer, that would be how would you do it. Otherwise, you could just use straight here to run on your own client if you're doing a single player. But for now, let's make sure that runs on the server first and then goes on a multicast. It's not going to change much in terms of our code. It's just we adding those extra nodes because one's running the server, the other one gets replicated across all the other clients. Right. But just once again, we're not focused in doing anything to do with multiplayer. We're just setting this up as a multiplayer for now. So then what we want to do here is we want to make sure that this has a parameter, and then the parameter that we got here is actually two parameters. So we're going to be here the context menu, or maybe a context option. Let's call context option, and we need to know the item, which item we're trying to do. This is going to be type st item, and then here's going to be context menu. Make sure that's a context menu. Nice. And then this guy here is going to call that context menu here, and the same thing. The two inputs. It's going to be the context menu option, and it's going to be the item. Make sure the item is here. st item here, right? Nice. And I'm just gonna plug this here and plug this in here, right? And what I'm gonna do right now is basically switch case. Yeah. So what I'm trying to do now, if you, I'm just gonna do it again. So you come from this node here, the green one. We just do switch, which is switch on context menu. There we go. And because if you're trying to use, if you're trying to drop, if you're trying to split, we may want to do different things. So for now here, what we're gonna do here is we are trying to drop, so we can call our maybe function there, call remove inventory item, that can do this. We don't have a function to do use yet, so let's worry about that in a minute. And what we're gonna do here is just press play, and in here we're gonna open up this, and if I press delete, it's nothing gonna do yet because we have to set up that event on the bottom, right? So what we're gonna do here is remember the name of this method here, called context menu dash server. Now we're gonna open this button context menu here, and in here it's gonna click on the button. We have a method called click it, right? It's gonna open up this, and what I want to do here is, because I have the main inventory reference, I can get inventory ref, and what I can actually do here is I can call the function context menu, and let me plug this here. We got the action, and there's one more thing in here that we're missing, which is the item. which I'm going to create another variable. I'm going to call this item ref, which is just the reference of the item. This is going to be the type of st item, right? Make sure it's public and mark explosion spawn. So plug this here, make sure this is plugged there. Nice. Compile and save. Now, in the context menu here, we do need to refresh, and actually we need to pass the item reference there, so it knows which reference of the items we're trying to do. We could also do it as well in a way that you could pass the context menu reference in there, and then you can get the item from here. But once again, there's a million ways, like there's a lot of ways you can actually do this. This is just one of those, right? So now if I press play, we should be able to drop the item. Come in here, we're gonna drop the item, and yeah, the item is being dropped, which is very nice. One more thing as well that we can actually do here is I'm just trying to think, you know what, let's do it in a better way. So I'm gonna delete this item reference, and I'm gonna explain you why in a minute. So I'm gonna open up a variable. I'm gonna call this context menu ref, right? I'm gonna open up this, and the type of this is gonna be WBP context menu. Make sure you mark this object reference. Compile and save. Make sure it's public and is explosion spawn. And then what we're gonna do here is from here we're gonna get the item as a reference. I'm gonna plug it in here, right? And what I'm gonna do here is I'm just gonna make sure remove from parent. So after use, or you do whatever you want, we're just gonna make sure we are deleting this context menu. And if you notice, here is gonna throw an error, so just go ahead and delete the item. And here is gonna ask for the context menu ref, which is gonna be self, because no select, sorry, self. Right, so we got a context menu reference. If I press play, that should delete the context menu as well as we drop the item. So we have the item dropping from here, which is nice. Okay, right, so I think we got this lesson done. I know that maybe there's the next step now is to do the use part, but we're gonna have to do some setting up on the character to make sure that we can actually start to work our way through the character and things. So what I want to make sure is that in the next lesson now we're gonna just do the basic setup. So you can come in here, you can grab like a shirt, you can go in here and press use, and then the character can use the shirt or something like this, or a sword or a shield, doesn't matter, whatever we're trying to do. So once again, guys, thank you very much for watching this series. If you got lost during this part of the course, just rewatch a couple of examples in here, but basically we did a very simple logic in here. We did a couple of refactors, but so far our inventory is coming really nice. So I see you guys in the next lesson.